Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back inside the Turf Football Podcast studio. As always, I'm your host, Kieran Drover, and instead of a full feature-length video like I've been doing over the past few months, I want to quickly break down what my thoughts were on Monday Night Football, where the Jacksonville Jaguars, at 4-1 now, defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28. The Chiefs fall to 2-3, and more notably, they had won 17 consecutive one-score games over the past two seasons. They dropped to 0-3 in such contests this year. That, to me, was bar none the biggest storyline of not only last night, but the first 5 weeks or first chapter of this Kansas City Chiefs season. It was a very uncharacteristic loss, despite their offense and defense not really playing all that bad. Stick around, and I'm going to break it all down. So why did KC lose last night? And for starters, I do want to say that the Jaguars deserve a ton of credit. Liam Cohen has joined that team as the head coach and completely changed the culture and the organization around, at least through the first quarter and a bit of this season. The defense is so much more improved than it was a year ago. The offensive weapons are starting to click. But the Chiefs really shot themselves in the foot last night. And I think more than the Jaguars beat them, they beat themselves for three main reasons. The first of which, poor situational football, something we're definitely not used to seeing from Kansas City, especially during the Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes era. I'll get into those, all of the kind of miscues and specific plays that I think led to that. Number two, so many penalties. 13 for 109 total accepted yards. You're not going to win many games when you're that undisciplined. Ask the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night against the Pats. Their entire first half was penalties. They couldn't get anything going on offense. They lost the game. And then so many missed tackles. 13 in last night's game for KC. They had only 109 missed tackles in all of last season. That led the NFL, but 13 last night was an uncharacteristic number from this defense. Again, I don't think that this offense or defense played particularly terrible. I mean, they had arguably their best rushing attack of the season. They rushed for 158 total yards, if I remember correctly, a 7.2 yards per carry, and 3 rushing TDs on the ground. Mahomes looked very mobile. Kareem Hunt had 2 rushing touchdowns, and Isaiah Pacheco looked quicker than I've seen him and was playing through contact and physical as usual. Mahomes had some fantastic throws under pressure. Well, he wasn't pressured a ton, only 28.3% of his dropbacks, so the pass protection held up. I thought Mahomes was the best player on the field for either team in this game, as he typically is. On defense, get a load of this. They pressured Trevor Lawrence on 54.3% of his dropbacks. That is insane. 28 total pressures. George Karlaftis had 8 on his own, but they only finished 4 sacks. That goes back to just not breaking down and making enough tackles. 4 sacks is good, but on 28 pressures, you'd probably hope to get a little more than that. Trevor Lawrence's pressure to sack ratio was in the 15% range. And one of the sacks was Trevor breaking contain and looking to scramble and eventually holding onto the ball too long. So really, it almost felt like 3 sacks. In terms of the miscues, though, that really led to their demise, one, you have the 99-yard pick six for Devin Lloyd. Pat Mahomes has thrown now 2 goal line interceptions in the second half of close games, which is very uncharacteristic. I mean, that's a 14-point swing, assuming the Chiefs are able to score a touchdown. It was 2nd and goal at the 3. Then you have Harrison Butker kicking the ball out of bounds on the kickoff that set up the Jags' game-winning drive. They started at the 40 instead of inside their own 30-yard line potentially. When do the Chiefs, especially on special teams, ever make a huge mistake like that in a crucial part of the game with less than 2 minutes remaining? There's the defensive pass interference on Shamari Connor on Brian Thomas Jr. in the end zone. Not a great matchup one-on-one. Trent McDuffie played against Thomas Jr. for most of the game, although on the final drive, I'm not sure why it was Jalen Watson and Connor. But that's a defensive pass interference penalty in a huge spot that we never see the Chiefs get. And whether you think that's because the refs don't want to hand them penalties and they're hoping that the Chiefs are going to win the game, I don't buy that. It's a disciplined team that knows how to put their best football on the field in the biggest moments, and they did not do that last night, bar none. there was 2 holding calls on kick returns, one of which was a 63-yard kick return for Chiefs rookie running back Brashard Smith. That would have set them up at the Jags' 35-yard line, but Jack Cochran, I think was his name, had 2 holding calls in the game, one of which was which put the Chiefs back at their own 20, and eventually they punted. So there's another minimum 3-point swing. And then when the Chiefs had pretty much no time remaining to try to come back at the end of the game, you got another one, which set them up at, I think, their own 17-yard line, and with less than 20 seconds, even though you have 3 timeouts, that's just most likely not going to be enough time unless it's the 13 seconds game, unfortunately. And then Chris Jones' effort on the final Trevor Lawrence touchdown run has been blowing up on Twitter. Whether or not he was going to make that tackle is a question mark, but weird to see their biggest superstar on defense have that little an effort in that big a spot. So, as I've said now multiple times, a very uncharacteristic loss from the Chiefs. I know that I've grown up now watching this team always make one more play than the other team does at the end of the game, and never have the mistake, and never be undisciplined when they can't afford to be. They did all of those things last night, and that's what they've done a lot this season, which we're just not used to seeing from them, and it's part of the reason why they're 2-3 and 0-3 in one-score games after having won 17 straight one-score games over the past 2 seasons. Their 3rd loss of the year comes after week 5. Their 3rd loss of the year last year was in the Super Bowl. So that is a crazy number to me that I truly cannot believe. I'm now going to break down a couple of the plays from the game, one of which is the Patrick Mahomes 99-yard interception to Devin Lloyd, and the other is going to be the huge Brian Thomas Jr. catch on 3rd and 7 for the Jaguars on their final and game-winning drive of the game. The first play I'll break down is Devin Lloyd's heroic 99-yard pick 6, which pretty much won the game for Jacksonville. For my Madden players, Kansas City is running a Y trail concept, where Tyquan Thornton is going to run off the coverage into the end zone, and Mahomes is going to read the most inside defender, who in this case is Lloyd. If Lloyd pressures, then Juju Smith-Schuster should be open on the quick slant. But if Lloyd drops into coverage, then Travis Kelce should be open on the trail route. And it's a pretty simple 1-2 read for Mahomes. But Lloyd has seen this play on tape because the Chiefs have run it before. And I'd advise you look at Mahomes' interception versus Philly in week 2 because it came on the exact same play call. So the Jags linebacker shows that he's pressuring, which leads Mahomes to believe that Juju will be open. But post-snap, he drops into coverage and makes a fantastic play on the ball before taking it the other way for a score. After taking the ball away just 9 times all of last season, the Jags already have 14 takeaways, which leads the NFL in 2025. Oh, and that's also Lloyd's 4th pick, which leads the league. Now, let's break down the other game-winning play for Jacksonville because they do deserve some kudos, and that was Trevor Lawrence's 33-yard dime of a completion to BTJ on the Jags' final offensive series. You can see pre-snap that KC is likely in a man blitz call because the 2 outside corners are in press coverage, and there are 5 defenders at the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs try to put their longest corner in 6'2" Jalen Watson against BTJ to defend the go route, but he is no match, as many aren't typically, for the 4.3 speed of Thomas Jr., especially when the Chiefs roll to single high coverage after the snap. KC brings the strong safety down from depth to defend against the shallow cross from Hunter. Instead of staying in the 2-high shell they showed pre-snap, and credit to Lawrence because he quickly diagnoses this and realizes there is one-on-one coverage to his best pass catcher on the outside. He's going to take that matchup 10 times out of 10, and he throws an absolute dot for a big play and a first down. This is one of the best throws you will see all season, I guarantee it, especially when you consider the opponent, the platform, and the game situation. With all of that said, the 2-3 record for Kansas City is concerning through 5 weeks, especially when you look at their schedule. They still have Detroit, Washington, Denver twice, Los Angeles, Indy, Buffalo. It is not going to be a cakewalk for the Chiefs to, and I can't believe I'm saying this, even get into the playoffs this season. But I wouldn't panic quite yet, especially with Rashee Rice coming back from his 6-game suspension soon. This offense moved the ball for almost 500 total yards against a tough defense on the road in a hostile environment on primetime Monday Night Football. And outside of a few costly mistakes and errors and just not being able to break the ball down against Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, the defense wasn't terrible. Like I mentioned, 28 pressures is a crazy stat. This team just can't continue to get in its own way. It's something we have never seen throughout the Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes era, but it is certainly something that has killed them over and over again this season. In each of their 3 losses, they had a chance to win every single one of those games, and I do expect them to right the track and start to win those games as the season rolls along. They just got to be more disciplined and cut down on the costly mistakes. They still have a great head coach, a franchise quarterback, a great defensive coordinator. They'll be totally fine, but if not, last night was the start of what could be a pretty big story for the rest of the season, and so I'm excited that I got to break it down to all of you guys. That's it for me today. Hopefully I have another video out later this week, but if not, I will certainly see you next week, and maybe I will break down the best game of week 6. Cheers, everybody, and enjoy another week of football.